What's going on, everybody? I'm Jake Thomas, welcoming you to another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. Today, we've got somebody coming from the West Coast by way of Southern California, but she's lived, worked, and eaten her way all over the world in some really cool places as a frequenter, a restaurateur, and worker throughout the industry in restaurants from St. Thomas and the Virgin Islands throughout Southern California and places throughout Mexico, and eaten. And I'll let her tell you more about places that she's been to and the different types of plates and palettes she's gotten to be exposed and experienced with, but now is also a great author and someone very well known in the carnivore space. I'll let you tell you all about her cookbook and some upcoming events that she and I are both going to be at that we're definitely excited about. I'm sure we'll be talking about that as well as the one that she was just at previously too. But without further ado, Mrs. Courtney Luna. What's up, Courtney?
Hi. Wow. What an intro. Thank you.
I try to
So
hype it up a
flattering.
lot, you know. I try to get it, try to think like channeling the Chicago Bulls, like MC, like, and now the starting lineup, for your Chicago Bulls, right? Trying to get everybody jazzed up.
I love it. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here and to chat about all the things.
Right on. Well, I read a bunch. I have read a bunch about you. I've seen a lot of you online, and just kind of wanted to, outside of what the script, so to speak, says about, in 2003, you first started off in restauranting and working your way through St. Thomas after Southern California and then into Portland and bouncing around and finding this way of eating that you eat now. Let's go right after that. What sparked your interest there? Was it a need? Was it a curiosity? And what's kept you here?
With finding carnivore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. We'll rewind it a little bit. I've
And
had,
yacht stewarding. Sorry, and that was another interjection. And yacht stewarding. That's pretty cool
yes.
too.
Yeah. I used to have a really fun life. Now yeah, debatable. So I have a long history of yo-yo dieting and trying all the things. I went to my first Weight Watchers meeting at 13, and it's funny because I've mentioned this a few times, and I say it was gently suggested, and my mom's like, this is just last week. She like watched something. She's like, you're the one that asked me to go. I'm like, okay, I don't remember it that way, but I guess I wanted to go. I was 13. I wasn't like grossly overweight, maybe like 20 pounds. I was playing soccer and, eating all the things. So that was I guess, my first diet. And I've tried all the things since. Slim Fast, let's see, Special K, not the drug,
Ooh.
but the cereal where they're like 2 bowls of cereal and a sensible dinner.
Calm down, guys. The cereal.
Yeah, the drug came later. So like grapefruit diet, I got a little bit closer to doing it in a healthy way when I found paleo in 2010 is when I discovered Mark Sisson and his book,
Yeah,
The Primal Blueprint. And I'm like, oh, this is
yeah.
amazing. So that worked out like okay for me. And I mean, this is in my 20s though. So I was never like really overweight. I wish I weighed now what I weighed then, thinking I was fat, So I did that. And then I did keto on and off for about like 7 years. And that was like starting in like 2013 or so. I never once heard about carnivore diet. Like, I don't know why I was so out of the loop. Even following, keto blogs, like never came across carnivore. So when I first came across it, it was in 2022, and my husband was just sending me Paul Saladino's TikToks, and he sent them to me
Yeah.
for like a month. We never talked about it. And finally, I'm like, why are you sending me these? Like, should we not be eating vegetables? He's like, I don't know. I need to do some research. So he hops onto YouTube and, YouTube University. But at that point, like I was dabbling in keto again. I lost 50 pounds after my second baby, which I have gained and lost 50 pounds multiple times. I stopped doing keto. I got caught up in the anti-diet culture BS. And I'm like, yeah, all foods fit, everything in moderation, no foods are bad. Like my carb and sugar addicted brain was very excited to see that stuff. So I did that.
Sure.
The first week went great. I lost 2 pounds. I even like had a croissant. Like I was feeling good. And fast forward, I gained 40 pounds in 4 months and I just felt horrendous. So when we discovered, animal based, I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot. I am waking up feeling lethargic. I am, hugely overweight. Like, let's give it a shot. And that was it. So I was animal based for about 5 weeks before I realized the fruit wasn't really working for me, that I was still like addicted to the sugar in the fruit.
Yeah.
And so I went strict carnivore and I haven't looked back. I just celebrated 2 years last week. And yeah, it's been amazing.
Oh, big congrats. Big congrats. So it was out of need, out of necessity. Like you felt sounds like you felt compelled. Like almost last resort, what else can I do? To your own words, you've tried everything else and that you have the support from your husband, it sounds like too, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely came from desperation, but more of like a weight loss space. I wasn't following carnivore influencers. I mean, besides Saladino, so I didn't know like all the other things that would come for it. I didn't know, like, it was just always weight loss for me. I guess I
Yeah.
equated weight loss, being at a healthy weight with being healthy. So I didn't realize that people were coming to this way of eating for autoimmune issues or for depression or acne. So I was actually surprised with a lot of the health benefits I've had because I didn't know that was going to happen. So like a month in, I'm like, oh, like I'm feeling like a lot better. Like I was on a very high dose of Zoloft and
Mm.
it completely numbed me out. So we lowered it. So it was low and not doing enough. So I was able, since the dose was so low, to feel a shift in my mental health. After like a month, I'm like, wow, like I feel good. And even my husband, noticed a change too. And he would have let me know if there was no change there. So that was amazing. And just battling my skin, like since probably 14 or 15, I remember like getting my first prescription acne medication.
Oh
So
yeah.
always having bad skin. And I'm such a picker. Like I would still, like, I would make an amazing esthetician. I would have loved to pick someone's face all
You and me
day.
both. Same, 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 same. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Dr.
Um,
Pimple Popper, like one of my
oh,
favorites ever.
yes.
She's the best.
Yes.
She's a people are like, you watch that? That's disgusting. I'm like, this is heaven to me. You
Yeah, this
know?
is absolutely disgusting. Show me more. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
100%. So the fact that like my skin cleared up, I didn't have anything else to pick. So now it's like I don't have all these acne scars like I used to have. Um,
Yeah.
the food freedom I feel, which nobody understand. Well, us carnivores understand, but people think is crazy because they're like, you need to eat all the foods to have freedom, like everything in moderation. I'm like, no, to me, it's like not being obsessed with, thinking about donuts and cake and all this. Like that could be sitting next to me and I have zero desire. So the mental gymnastics I used to go through to either eat it and then try and not, or maybe try and fit some in my macros for the day, or eat the whole damn plate, binge, and start the cycle all over again. So yeah, eating this way has like literally been life changing for me in so many ways that I had no idea I was going to get.
That's awesome. I can definitely relate to the acne too. God, 15, 16, even senior year, just, pimples galore and Accutane, Retin-A, whatever, retinol, like all the different scripts. I mean, Accutane was huge. God, like how many people took Accutane growing up? Did that. And it worked pretty well for the most part because you're just like dropping an atomic bomb on your body. But like the other costs that come with it, we all knew, but we were so frustrated and, tired, embarrassed, ashamed to look like that. And it was like whatever it took. Like I didn't care. And like who would have thought that it was our fucking diet? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
nobody told me that. No, not
nobody
one
asked.
dermatologist said, no one asked, right? No one said, hey, what's your diet like? Hey, what are you eating? Have you tried? Not one person. I mean, the multiple dermatologists that I saw as a kid, not one of them asked me about what I'm eating. And that's not me crucifying anybody either. Maybe they didn't know so much so, but like to just think that, God, it was right there this whole time on top of, like you touched on, mental health issues, depression going away, being able to combat anxiety. I didn't expect to find that with this. It was pitched to me by a good friend that was like, hey man, you should give this a shot. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, it's like keto, right? And he's like, no, no, dude, nothing but, meat and animal product. I was like, what? Like, and had to do the same, had to go to YouTube University, and read, watch, listen, read, watch, listen over and over and over, and finally build up the courage to be like, all right, I'll try it, I guess. But to find all those other things that came as far as an improvement, the sleep, just clarity of mind, not being depressed, not feeling lethargic or having dips in energy, and this steady flow of energy. was like, man, this is hard to argue with. So how do you take it from a person that's been so around food personally and who made a career out of it? And I'm gonna kind of relate to you on this one. Like, I'm from New Orleans, born and raised. So food is a big part of our culture, just a little bit. And rich, decadent, smothered and covered, sweet, savory, fried, and otherwise is everything to us. So people ask me, like, well, dude, how are you giving all that up? I'm like, I'm not giving up on anything. I'm just prioritizing other things and what makes me feel great. I ask you similar question. How did you handle being from that industry that you spent so much time in, right? I mean, bouncing around all those places that we talked about from 2003 to 2010 before getting into yacht stewardship, which we definitely want to talk about. And now you're not around all those foods, but you're still being creative, obviously, with your cookbook and like the extent of your following based around your cooking and preparations of meals and whatnot. What was your strategy, or was there a strategy, or just kind of happened to where you were like, hey, I'm okay, I can do this? Or was it tough?
Yeah, I still think it's so weird. I mean, if you would have told me years ago that I would be eating a carnivore diet or creating recipes for a carnivore diet, like what the heck? I still think it's like so bizarre. And because, you're used to using 800 ingredients in a dish, so I used to cook for a living, and I even had like one of my crew members like, are you from the South? Like, by the way that I cooked, like I'll make some mean like, fried chicken and some mac and cheese. So like the way like that
Mm,
I love to cook too was very like not healthy. I mean, we went through our keto stint, so that was healthier, but I mean, I just loved like, I mean, it was just like a love language to me, like cooking for
mm,
people and having it be so delicious. And okay, the way we eat now is delicious, but when it's like, you're using all the ingredients and sugar and bread and all the addictive stuff, it's extra delicious. Like,
yeah.
so it's definitely a change, and it's still kind of like weird for me to wrap my mind around it. And I do like sometimes have like imposter syndrome because it's like I'm only 2 years in on this diet. I have been cooking, for years using a bunch of ingredients, cooking all the things, so this is new for me too. So I'm still
Yeah.
kind of, figuring it out. We're very limited with the ingredients we have, but it's been fun, and it's just been a way, a creative outlet for me. And I've always loved food. So, I mean, I'm having a good time, but it is just, it's weird. And it's definitely something to wrap your brain around, like when you're not using vegetables anymore. Like, yeah, it's been interesting.
So definitely, I mean, obviously you're a self-taught chef also, which is pretty cool. Having a lot of experimenting, a lot of figuring things out, testing and trial and error. Is it a hard thing going from looking at foods where you're thinking, okay, before you're just thinking of them, what can I make with what I have? Doesn't matter. I'm not thinking about utility or pleasure. But now it's like you're weighing pleasure against utility or utility against pleasure, and I think one of the great debates about what's the healthiest diet, or how that debate will never end so long as it pits pleasure against utility or emotions against utility. Oh, these blueberry banana pancakes, make me think of my childhood, make me think of my father, and it makes me want to reconnect with him, with those moments, that memory. So when I have that, and when I used to binge on them, that was me trying to desperately reconnect with my past emotions. Utilitarianly, did not sit well with me. Bloating, the depression that would come from that, the hangover, the withdrawal. Like, I would literally get like dope sick from binges from food. Like these sugar rushes and just these massive surges of dopamine that would just drop me off the deep end. And the next day, I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed. And then I adopt this way of eating, and all of a sudden, it's like sometimes I can't sleep. I'm so wired in a good way. I just fire up out of the bed. I don't want to ever hide in the sheets and hope the day doesn't come, because I'm just, man, I can't wait to get out there and see what's waiting for today. Utility. Was it hard for you, or is it hard for you, not just as a chef, but as a human being, to kind of have to weigh things like that and say, God, I was so emotionally connected to some of these foods because of the places that I lived, because of the culture that I'm part of. I was so connected to some of these ingredients, spices, it's, whatever they might be, emotionally. And to now think about things utilitarianly. Was that ever in your mind, or something that you've had to juggle?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mind shift we have to do because yeah, we link, every emotion to food. It's like people are sad, they go eat, you celebrate, we have food. Like food is just linked to everything. So yeah, it was a little bit of like, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing. Like you're almost like mourning a loss of something. Like the fact that I'm to think about like, oh, I'm never gonna have like a normal cookie again. Like that's kind of weird. But I
Mm,
also think of it like that stuff's not even like food anymore. The way it had a mental hold over me, like I have zero desire to eat that way again. The way it made me feel physically, and yeah, I think we just need to. I mean, I want my food to be delicious, but food is also fuel, and I think we need to be a little bit better about like removing our feelings from it. And I mean, but I still think like I still get excited about eating a steak or something. So I'm still getting that like pleasure, but it's just a little different. I think we just come from a different angle now, and it's not trying to use it as a drug. I'm using it as fuel while also having it taste good and be enjoyable, if that makes sense.
yeah, definitely, definitely. It's weird though. As a lover of food, also, and sharing that sentiment with you. So I'm certainly no chef by any means, but to look at things and think like, how does this serve me? How will this make me feel? How it's going to taste is one question, right? I think how something's going to taste, it's easy for us to answer, and a lot of that is subconscious. Like we know for the most part, like these cakes, these sweets, these treats, whatever how they're going to taste like. But to be able to say, how's this going to make me feel? And I think that's a big thing that I've learned throughout these few years is like it's evaluating foods and how they make me feel, regardless of how I think they are or how I want them, how I need them, how I crave them. And I kind of love challenging people to say, trust your feelings. Like your emotional minds and emotional bodies are going to say something. And it's not always going to agree with what your physical body's saying. Well, what do you mean? Example, oh my God, I love pizza. But every time I eat pizza, I get bloated and tired. Okay, well, then you don't love pizza. Your emotional mind and your emotional body love pizza, but your body is clearly saying, we do not like this. Every time I drink, oh my God, I love red wine, but every time I drink it, I get a bad, bad headache. Well, then you don't love red wine. Your emotional body, your memories, your other side may, but your body's like, no, we don't. It's the same thing with like goosebumps or shivers or sweat. The body is so objective in its communication with us. It's going to tell us exactly what's going on without bias, without emotion, just matter of fact. It's cold. Here are some goosebumps. It gets colder. Here are some shivers. It gets colder. We're going to get frostbitten, hypothermic, and eventually we're going to die. If you don't take the steps to warm me and take care of me. Hey, but I told you what was going to happen. But when we get those signals regarding food, man, our free will kicks in so hard and we're like, I don't care. I love pizza. I don't care how it makes me feel. I love my red wine. I don't care how it makes me feel. And I think that's one of the hardest things to deal with when anyone asks about adopting this diet for whatever the reason might be. I say it's not going to be about keeping the discipline to stay on the diet. It's going to be believing the feelings you're having against what your emotions might want to sway you towards. Is that something you can relate to?
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, like people were just it's just we're addicted to these foods and we're quick to dismiss them because it tastes good and it gives us that dopamine hit that we're looking for. So I mean, to me, these foods that aren't carnivore are a drug, and I feel like it gets dismissed a lot. But I mean, sugar and stuff lights up areas in your brain like cocaine would,
Yep.
and for a lot of us, like we can't moderate. Like I have learned there's a lot of self-awareness that has come since eating this way, and I've learned that I'm an abstainer and I'm not a moderator. I can't, have a cheat meal on Saturday and get back on track. Like that meal would probably have me spiraling back to my old ways. So just knowing that, I can't control myself around these addictive foods, no matter how delicious they may be, that's what keeps me, staying on track and abstaining from the pizza, even though it tastes delicious. Well, now I make a carnivore pizza. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think people are just so addicted. and they don't care because it makes them happy and brings them joy. Really, it all comes down, I feel like, to that dopamine that you're getting it from it. And we need to turn to other things than our food to, bring us joy.
I said something almost verbatim to that with Jason Brown the other day, Carnivore JT, on his podcast, talking about exactly that. I said we are so tied to that for our dopamine that everything revolves around it because we live to eat rather than eat to live, simply, right? Like we're so connected to that, like you said, whether it's for a funeral, a birthday, a wedding, boredom, big one there, boredom, right? We're so connected to that we go to it for stress, to celebrate, for whatever reason, it's to eat. And that's what's giving us for so many people, that's where we're getting the massive amount of daily pleasure is from food. And it's like, God bless, like it's a whole world out there to live in, not to think that, hey, food is great. Sure. And we should celebrate it communally and do that with our friends and families. But my God, should it be the everything in our lives? I don't know, kind of side question. How do you deal with it as a mother now, as a parent with kids that are out in the world, free to roam the range and be exposed to everything and anything? Like, is it stricter at the home? How do you navigate those waters with children?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, speaking of that, I mean, the snacks that I see at our soccer games are appalling. I mean, it's like, come on. And I get once in a while having a treat, but it seems like these are probably like common foods. Like, I'm sorry, my 3-year-old does not need a red Gatorade. Like, they don't need red dye. They don't need, I mean, they make fruit snacks that don't have sugar in them. So why are we getting the ones that have added corn syrup to them? I mean, it's just always junk. And I'm sure everyone, when it's my turn to do snack, they're probably like, what the heck is this? And it's not an exciting bag because I am doing a Chomps meat stick, I'm doing a string cheese, and I'm doing maybe like an orange or a pouch or something for their little sugar hit. And I'm waiting for the age where my kid will probably be embarrassed by that, but he's 6, so he's fine.
Shout out to Chomps meat sticks and my sister-in-law that just got a bunch of them for her second pregnancy. Woo, good job, Rebecca.
Awesome. Yeah, they're really great. We blow through those. But yeah, so the approach we take with our kids is we're pretty like strict at home because I want everything we have at the house to be something I can say yes to, because kids are constantly asking for food and I don't want to battle them on something. Even like an all fruit popsicle, like we'll have, and it's like, can I have a popsicle? Can I have another one? It's like, oh my gosh, like let's lay off. So even like that, it's like, I don't want to battle. I just want it to be like a yes. So everything we have in the house is essentially carnivore with the addition of fruit. So my kids will have fruit. On an occasion, I will order sourdough bread from our neighbor that makes it. And it's like they'll maybe have a piece here and there. But we teach them like macros. So, because I see that they're little sugar addicts, even for fruit. Like they could sugar binge all day. So it's like, okay, if you're going to have some strawberries, like what protein are you going to pick with it? Like, let's pair it with a protein. And hopefully it's not just cheese that they always want. Like, it's like, okay, let's do an animal protein. So just teaching them that. And we do give them the freedom when we go out to like a birthday party. I give them the freedom so they have a little bit of like control and feel some power. I don't want to cause issues where when they're older, they go to a friend's house and they're binging on all the things that mom wouldn't give them. So I try to not like make a big deal out about it, but we talk about like how these foods are making your body feel. So it's like, okay, you're going to have pizza and cake at this party. Well, like listen to your body. You don't need to eat the whole thing. I will cut it off at like, you're not having the red frosting one. Like at least have, I don't want to do like the red dyes. So I'll draw the line there, but yeah, they have some freedom just to like, I don't know. I feel like they need that. And I don't know. They're metabolically flexible right now. They can have some things here and there. And of course, like once in a while when we go out to dinner, I mean, most times I'm just ordering protein, but sometimes we'll let them get something else. But I hate it. Like, I'm not excited about that. I'm just trying to not F them up in the long run, So I don't know. I hope I'm not screwing them up. I'm doing what I feel like is best for them without creating eating disorders in the future. Cause I do get a lot of comments like that, that I'm going to cause them eating disorders in the future. But I don't know. I'm just trying to teach them proper nutrition and hope for the best.
It's a battleground, that's for sure. And like to what level is to their benefit and to when it becomes a detriment. I don't know. I think it's with the best intention, obviously. And what do they say? Did they report back and say, hey, we saw this, or we had some of that, or like it made us feel this way? Are they pretty in tune with that themselves? Like, are they active participants with like, yeah, with feedback,
Yeah, I would say so. And they love eating this way. Like, it's not like I'm like, how do I get them to eat steak? Like, they do love eating this way. And my 3-year-old, she'll be like, fat is flavor. So they love it. So there's no like pushback. I think another thing to like make it creative for them is like, instead of offering a veggie and a starch, like we do like 3 different animals. So I mean, that's not
Nice.
always like, it's not like I'm constantly making all that stuff. But for like dinner or something, like give them some options. So it's not just one thing. I feel like that can be a little boring for them. But yeah, like breakfast, it's like bacon, eggs, maybe a little bit of fruit. Lunch would be burger patties with cheese. And then dinner, maybe cook up a couple different animals just to give them some choices too. So
Nice.
it's been pretty
Did
good.
they,
And
did,
they're
did they
thriving.
ever get, what's that?
And I would say, and they're doing good. They're thriving.
Amazing. Did they ever get any uh, criticism at school or around friends about it?
So we homeschool, but we are part of a co-op. And so I haven't heard anything. I was actually sitting outside with them when they were having their snack today. And I heard like everyone was kind of showing each other like what they got. And I did
Hmm.
hear my kid to someone else be like, oh, I'm so jealous. Because he had some sort of thing with cookie butter on it. I'm like, okay. But yeah, so I think at the age, like it's not maybe quite there yet that they have that like judgment. It's more like, oh, I wish I had cookies in mine. It's like, well, you don't need
Yeah.
that.
I can relate. I remember being a kid and going to school, and my brother and I were the kids with the 7 grain peanut butter, banana, celery, honey, and raisin sandwiches. Nobody wanted to trade for those ever. Like when you're like 6 or 7, 8, 9, like nobody wants that. And we would look at like the kids with Lunchables pizzas and be like, oh my God, I would kill for that thing. Right now with the Capri Sun and the Snickers or whatever the candy that came with it. It's like, who wants to trade for this? It's like half squashed in the bag already. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look good for currency whatsoever. But that's so funny though. You kind of mentioned about, people making remarks. Um, you've been on a real heater lately about your weight loss and talking about it online. What's been the go-getter side of you to really go after that and tear into it? Because it's been obviously working. You've been dropping pretty significant pounds fast.
Yeah, but I'm at a little bit of a stall right now. And it's self-inflicted. Like I'm eating too much. Like I'm eating when I'm not hungry. So
Yeah,
it's been so easy this whole time. And I feel like eating carnivore has really helped with my issues with food and my emotional eating. But lately, these last couple months, I'm totally struggling with that. And I think it's like a stress thing. So even like I'm a week right now, I think, where I've been taking a break from tracking macros because I just needed to step back from actively trying to lose weight, even though I'm still trying to lose weight, but just without thinking about it. And the last 3 nights, like I've done good during the day. And it's just like, I want to eat things. And it's not
yeah,
like meat, I'm not wanting to go have steak. I'm wanting pork rinds, bacon, carnivore bars, moon cheese. So it's like these
yeah,
processed foods. And I'm wanting to like numb my stress with it. So I've been eating way more than I need to. So I'm struggling to lose weight because I'm struggling to get to the root of my issues and why I'm wanting to turn to food to like ease my stress. And it's just interesting because I haven't struggled with that this whole time. It's just these last few months and it hasn't been fun because I'm so close to my goal weight. So being stuck in maintenance mode when you're like 10, 15 pounds away, it's
yeah.
annoying and I'm doing it to myself, you know?
You are a human being, Courtney. You are a human being. You are an American also, statistically. I mean, all addicted, everybody, all of us, in one form or another to something or things that we go to. And that's just how strong the grip is. Like that's, you know, we can talk about drugs and hard drugs and recreational drugs and other things and alcohol and substance abuse and gambling addiction, sex addiction, shopping, whatever, consumerism. This is the ultimate one. This is the ultimate one, food. Coffee's up there too. Coffee's right there with it. For people that have had to battle caffeine addiction or overconsumption and trying to wean their way back or off of it completely, it's extremely difficult because of its omnipresence. It's everywhere. Same thing with food. When we deal with any of the four vitals that I would call them of living, so eating, breathing, sleeping, and drinking, and water, not booze. Anytime you attack one of those four, you're going to get a radical response, right? Like you take away your sleep, okay, you're only going to get so far for so long. There's a reason it's so effective for interrogation. You take away water, you're not going to get too far either, right? Dry fasting is very potent and effective for the same reason, because it's such a critical element of our lives. Breath work can be very beneficial done in a controlled environment. Can't do it for too long though, right? Because we need it pretty fast or we're going to get in a bad spot. Eating, same thing, except the other three are much more individual sports, whereas the food one is so much more accepted as being communal. Something we do together, something we do with others, something we do with friends and family. And like that separation anxiety can weigh hard. And especially when we're trying to abstain for the purpose of our own benefits, taking away one of those pillars or one of those vitals, but also comes with that vital, the communal aspect, because you still got to cook food for your family. You still got to prepare and be a mother. You're still probably going places, seeing people, and not indulging, maybe wanting to. And then when the stress comes, it's like, I want to eat. Yeah, we do want to, because it's an easy reach. It's a short range reach for comfort, and it's a guaranteed comfort. It's like the one, we're like, oh, I can for sure cut my wrist with that, and it's going to feel so good. And then it's easy to rationalize and say, well, at least I didn't go back to the bottle. At least I'm not going back to the bag. Good job, Jake. Like, good for you. But that's the truth. That's the internal dialogue I definitely have and have had in the past, where I'm like, at least I'm not going back to the bag. Thank God. So I can eat this whole freaking pint of ice cream, which, by the way, pint of ice cream is a single serving. For anybody who doesn't know that, anybody that buys pints and they're like, yeah, I get like 10 servings out of that. I'm like, well, I don't know who you are, but that's a single serving to me. But it's true. Like that is such a hook to all of us, because that's how strong the grip is. Whether we're 10 years old or pushing 90, we've been eating that way for our lives. And to think that all of a sudden within the last few years, like for yourself doing this 2 years, congratulations, huge. But still, that is the strength of the grip. That even with 2 years, all your might, all your experience, all the wisdom, knowledge gained, the dedication, the discipline, the sacrifice, the consistency, all the buzzwords of self-discipline, still, that's the strength of the grip. But it's awesome to hear you talk about it in a fascinated way and being able to illustrate and say, I know what's going on, because that's the accountability that so many people don't have. It's blame the outside. I can't, I'm hopeless, I'm helpless. It's like, no, like you got all the power right there. You have all the means, all the ability. It's just the desire's got to be like, most of us, I think, just don't want to admit what it's going to take. And that's what keeps people from getting there. Is it's like, this shouldn't be that hard. Well, it is. It straight up is.
It is. And you know what? Like getting past this like food addiction has been so much harder than other addictions. I mean, I'm 3 years sober from alcohol, and
Congrats.
thank you. As hard as that was, like it was definitely easier than this food thing.
Agreed.
I kicked the sugar, but now it's like I'm still replacing those behaviors lately with carnivore foods, and I'm still, battling that. So yeah, it's been interesting. Just stepping back and observing what I've been doing, and just knowing like what your foods are that you don't have sober behavior around. And for me, that's freaking moon cheese, and I'm going to go eat it all so it's gone out of the house and never buy it again. But it's just interesting, just from an observation stance, like how much food, even if it's carnivore, can have a hold over us, because we don't have to drink alcohol. You don't have to do drugs. So it's easy, once you get past that, you abstain from it, you're done. But we have to eat every day. So to still be around all those things, like it's tricky and it's weird. And I talk about it and I talk about my struggles, but it's also weird because, I've been sharing my journey for 2 years that I want people to remember, like, it's not like I'm one of the doctors out here, one of the experts. Like I'm still, going through this and learning too. So it's weird to like, I don't know. It's weird to like share failures and struggles because I feel like a lot of other people are like, they've already got there, they figured it out, and now they're sharing. Whereas I'm like in the mess still right now. And I'm not an expert, I'm just sharing what's going on. I don't feel like I know it all at all. And I'm just sharing where I'm at and hoping to like learn from other people too, so I can figure it out.
I think that's so much more real though. That's so raw, and like how relatable is that? Because I mean, whether they've gotten to the top, so to speak, of the mountain or not, it's like everybody had to start somewhere with a foothold and figure some stuff out for sure. And like anybody that's gone down this journey, because I'm been there with drugs and alcohol and getting sober and clean and all that, and challenging, yes, for sure. But I would say food addiction is way more difficult. Absolutely. Again, like you said, because of it's omnipresent. It's everywhere. We have, eventually, like you can fast as long as you want, but eventually you're going to have to eat. Hey, 30-day wet fast. Awesome. Good on you. But eventually you're going to have to eat, and you can only dodge that bullet for so long. Like, okay, I'm going to do X amount of days of whatever fast, and I'm only going to, drink bone broth or like, oh, all right, well, eventually you're going to have to eat, so like those things can work and give you some, quick results, but what is sustainable? What is lasting? What's really going to be, your way of kind of dealing with that? And that's why I love hearing people talk about using a carnivore diet for that, because that's what's actually going to teach you to control. It's going to teach you the self-control, to be able to understand what real satiety is like, what real, I don't even say desire for food, because it's like, with carnivore foods, you never crave them the way you would like, oh my God, I'm dying for, Starburst, or I'm dying for chocolate bars. Like you can't eat these foods like those foods. I can't, I can open a bag of Smart Food, white cheddar popcorn, and just destroy that thing where my fingers are covered in white, popcorn dust in 5 seconds, right? Or we go to the cinema, we're going to see a new movie. Courtney, I'm getting a popcorn, large, drenched in butter. I'm going to get a Sour Patch Kids, Reese's Pieces to pour into the popcorn, and
I was
like
just
the
going to
biggest
say,
icy.
Pour the M&Ms in there.
You gotta put the chocolate in the popcorn. Duh, pro move. And the biggest icy I can get. Sadly, I'm going to finish that probably before the previews end. And then we're going to have to rock, paper, scissors for who's going to get the extras so we can have something for the movie. But then after the movie's over, we're like, hey, let's go get some food because we're hungry. And it's like, dinner. God, yeah, we just plowed through all that stuff that we just mindlessly eat and went through. Whereas you put a plate of pork chops in front of somebody and go, hey, do your best. And they'll start tapping pretty fast. And they're going to eat a lot slower. And like that's what really kind of hit it for me, was I wasn't craving these things. Don't get me wrong, I love a steak. Like, duh, I love barbecue. And I might say, like, oh my God, I'd kill for some barbecue. But it's not the same. It is physiologically, biochemically not the same. The satisfaction is not the same. It's totally different. And your ability to eat that food in like rapid rate is not the same. Totally different. So I think it takes kind of going through these experiences to be able to know. So like I would say it's not necessarily a failure, at all. Like I'd say it's a great learning experience. It's a plateau. Maybe it's frustrating. Sure. You're somewhat disappointed. Okay. But like every part of that is a learned experience. And I say it because I've done it 1,000 times, because it's like, I don't want to believe it to be true, in the sense that don't tell me if I just keep it super strict carnivore, I'll never have sleep issues. My body's going to feel great. My skin's don't tell me, and then I'll be like, all right, let me just try to sidestep a little bit. And I do. And the wheels wobble. I'm like, God, come on. That was barely like a sidestep. Like, why you mean to tell me it's got to be this perfect and everything's hunky dory? And the universe or whatever, my body is telling me like, yeah, dude, You sidestep a little bit, like you're opening Pandora's box. You sidestep a little bit. That's a gateway drug, or it's a gateway, food for you. To where with alcohol, it used to be, all right, I have a drink, I have a few more. Eventually, I'm going to be like, okay, who's got a cigarette? And then a few more after that,
Yes.
I'm like, who's got a bag? That fast. And maybe it's not that one moment, but I keep doing that in frequency. It's going to eventually be I'm smoking again, and then sure as hell I'm using again. And similarly, it can happen with side steps. Oh, it's just a little fruit today. Well, then tomorrow maybe it's a chocolate bar, a good chocolate bar, a quality one. But then maybe the day after that, it's oh, it's a organic blah 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 Bobos or something, and then it just this cascade of decisions that happens. Whereas when I stay there in the lane, man, it's untouchable.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Exactly what you were saying. The drink leads to this. Yep, that was me too. And yeah, so I know I can't. I like what you're saying. Like it's a good visual. Like staying in the lane, even putting like a toe out, like that could be just one step to the wrong decision, and like I'm one bite away from going back to my old life, and it's just yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, and like I think about that comparatively, like why is it so easy to not use again or to not drink again? Like it's pretty freaking easy now. Like I'm pretty steadfast and dead-handed in with that. We're like I'm never worried about it. But I have to think of some of these things like heroin. I have to compare some of these foods to drug abuse, and like people are like that's ridiculous. Why would you? Because man, that's how I see it. That's how I see this foe, in the sense of I felt controlled by these things the same way I felt controlled by those other things. Granted, it's my own reasoned choice making these decisions. Nobody's putting a gun to my head, right? Or yours. I don't think so. And, for most people, when it comes to addiction of any kind, very, very, very few, I would say the overwhelming ultimate minority, have ever had a gun put to their head and say, drink that drink, snort that line, sleep with that person, make that bet, buy that item. Like very few people have had that. It's a decision that we make, but it's a tough one in those moments where we feel that we don't have another option, or that we feel so compelled that we need to do this in order to feel okay. And yeah, when you take away the booze and the other things, and now it's like, okay, my only foe or my only battleground is over food. Yeah, it's darn tough. But it's also the most rewarding of all of them, in my opinion, because I thesis to all of this is that the single most effective thing we can do as human beings in regard to our health is controlling what we put into our mouths. You want to tackle your depression. What's your diet like? You want to go after your anxiety. What's your diet like? Well, I'm still drinking a little bit. Well, then why are we even discussing this? If you're trying to improve a relationship with yourself interpersonally, familiarly, romantically, professionally, what's your diet like? What's your frequency? What's your state of being between the ears like? Because if we're just being constantly poisoned for pleasure, as opposed to eating for purpose with intention and purity, like, yeah, we don't stand a freaking chance. And that's the truth of it. We don't stand a chance out there. You see it more than anybody as a parent, for sure. Like you said, talking about what you see at the soccer games. Um, yeah, I get it. Like I see it with my godchild and what she's around and what they're exposed to, and it's just so normal place to be like, hey, just dose them up on 20 Starbursts, they'll be fine. Their faces are painted and covered in red dye from Gatorade. Like, God bless, what's going on there, man? But that's the truth. Um, do you see hope though? Not just for yourself, but for people at large. I mean, like, what's your plan forward now? Like, you've seen the stop signs. Like, okay, you've taken the punches. You're still in the ring. You maybe got a little wobbly. Like, what's the strategy now moving forward to be able to land the shots you need to be able to drop the hammer and knock somebody out?
Yeah, it is crazy just seeing. I feel like everyone's almost got some sort of vice. Going back to what you said, like at AA meetings, no one's drinking anymore, but they're all drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. So I feel like we're all kind of like have some sort of addiction, and yeah, we may stop one, but then we're putting it on to something else. Um, and it's hard. And like you said it's like being compelled, and we're watching Vampire Diaries right now. And so like they compel people, and that's almost like what it feels like when you're caving to your addiction that you shouldn't be. It's like you almost can't stop it. Like there's
Yeah.
just there's no control. Like it's almost like if you have like an itch, like you have to scratch it. And I feel like that's kind of like
Or a
what
pimple, you have to pop it.
you have to pop it. Yeah. Like that's what these addictions are, that it's just it's so strong that you can't do anything but scratch that itch or eat that food. So yeah, I mean, look around and see like what people are eating, and it's just wild, and it's sad, and it's interesting because it's like I think some people just don't know too, and they're not aware of things like, or they don't want to know. I don't know, but like how does everybody not know that we shouldn't be drinking red dye? Like that's confusing to me. But I guess I was there maybe like 4 years ago. I didn't
Yeah.
know about red dye. So yeah, I hope for like the sake of this country and this world that people start waking up and realizing like how much diet attributes to things. Because like you said, like I was never asked, when I was getting prescribed with Zoloft, what my diet was like, or
Yeah.
when I was getting my acne medication, no one was asking me that. So I don't think a lot of people are correlating our health to diet, which is so weird because it's your fuel. Like you wouldn't put diesel into a car that needs regular gasoline. So I'm hoping, that we can get there and just help like spread the message about proper nutrition. I just want to save the
Yeah.
world.
Mm. Powerful. Agreed, though. Agreed. What's your, for somebody that's struggling, I'm struggling. I've tried, I'm failing, I've regressed. Oh my God, Courtney, I can totally relate. I was making some good ground too. I fell back. Yep, I was hitting the pork rinds. I overate on the yogurt. Like, God damn it. Like she's talking to me. What can you tell me as the person that's relating to you, listening? Okay, she's got a strategy. She's got to have a strategy or something. Like, please, what's going to be the move moving forward to succeed?
Yeah, I know what to do. I'm just not doing it. So, what I would tell someone is, get rid of those foods that you have no control over. Like for me, I'm not going to overeat. Okay, maybe I'll have a couple extra bites of a ribeye than maybe I'm hungry for because it's delicious, but I'm not going to binge on a ribeye
Yeah.
or on eggs. Like, after a few eggs, I'm like, we're done. So pay attention to what those trigger foods are for you, and what you don't like. I love what Dr. Lisa says, like what you're not having sober behavior around. So if it's the pork rinds, like get rid of them. And that doesn't mean like eat them all so they're gone. But then I would say like throw them away. But then I've dug stuff out of the trash before and eaten it. So just don't buy
Same.
those foods. And
Same.
yeah, and it's hard because like my kids like to eat things that I probably shouldn't have in the house, even if it's carnivore, like pork rind cereal. I absolutely love it,
Yeah.
but it's
Oh yeah.
100% a 2 bowl event if I have it. It's not just a
Or
small bowl.
or
I
I need
won't.
the big popcorn bowl, like the monster. You know what I
And
mean?
that's what
Like,
I use. We have these like
yeah.
big plastic bowls that I will use, and I will have two.
Oh God.
And like the moon cheese, that's my new obsession. Like the cheese wisps, oh, that word, wisps, like that brand, like I can moderate myself around. I don't love them, but like something about the texture of this moon cheese. And so I haven't bought it for them in a while, but I just
Mm,
recently bought some, and we're already a bag down, and I just got it a couple days ago. And that's mainly
mm,
from me. So just being aware of those foods and not having them. It's so much easier to listen to your hunger cues if you're keeping it simple and not having like all those extra processed foods. But to get back on track, like remember your why. Like, why are you doing this? And sometimes it needs to be a little bit deeper than just I want to lose weight. Like
mm.
dig deep. Do you have kids that you want to like, be a good example for? Or maybe you're a grandma and you want to be able to run around with the kids, or you have an autoimmune disease. Like figure out what it is, and just remember that. And in the moment, like to not fall off into the ditch if you can, like go distract yourself, go for a walk, go, punch some pillows. Like sometimes you just need to get past like 5 or 10 minutes, and then you'll
Yep.
like move
Yep.
on from that craving. I also like having like a flavored bubbly water. Like if your mouth is wanting something, have that. Have a bite of butter. a pinch of salt. And, I feel like those are all good, like in the moment things. But there's so much to be said for like all the other little things you're doing that have nothing to do with your diet. So, like, how are you handling your stress? Like, for me right now, stress is a big thing. And that's why I'm turning to food, like, especially like with my kids. Sometimes they just like rattle me. And I find in the moment, that's when I'm going to grab food, is when I like
Yeah.
almost don't know how to handle like what's going on and being
Yeah.
triggered by their behavior. So getting outside, doing the morning light, getting some grounding in, do your blue light blockers, meditate, journal, like do all these other things to help your health, like overall. And hopefully that will help, get out and walk, get exercise, like go lift heavy weights. We all need to be lifting heavy weights, especially women as we're getting older. We need to protect our fragile bones so we don't break a hip. So just doing all the things to like support yourself and have it not be about food. And someone mentioned in my YouTube video lately, because I was talking about this, they're like, what about a hobby? I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what is that?
Excellent.
Like, what have I been doing? I haven't had hobbies lately. Like, whatever I'm doing in my spare time is like work stuff. It's either my book or it's social media or I'm replying to emails or DMs or
Yeah.
comments or editing video. And I love it. And that's why it's become my habit. But it's like, dang, I need to find something outside of this whole carnivore thing. So I've been doing crossword puzzles in the morning, and
Nice.
it's a nice distraction. I'm like, wow, I just went a whole hour without thinking about food. So
Yeah.
yeah, doing more than just worrying about your diet, I feel like is going to be beneficial too. And that's what I'm working on. So I have the answers. I feel like I just need to do them.
You got it. You definitely got it. I mean, I'm listening, taking tons of notes on that. If I'm somebody else, like, oh my God, like those are great strategies. Those great tips, for sure. And I'm right there with you with the my trigger or my kind of thing that I got rid of was if it's something I can put my hand in and it's a bag, it's not a good thing for me. There's something about the tear of the bag, the sound, the crinkle, the crunch of my hand being in there, and then the crunch down, like of that action. There's a subconscious like thing to me of like go, 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 go. Whereas, yeah, when it's like a ribeye and I eat a couple more pieces of it, I'm never guilt ridden. I don't feel like I've just binged out on this like a pig. Like, no, I'm gonna stop and push the plate away. Whereas with the bag, it's like there's something about that action that just gets me to keep going and to not stop. But you mentioned your book. Your book is releasing on Amazon, coming out in October, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly,
October
right?
1st it comes out.
October 1st. Title of the book again?
Carnivore in the Kitchen.
Carnivore in the Kitchen. October 1st. How long did it take you to write it? What was the
We're
muse for it? I
we're
mean,
still working on it.
oh, beautiful, awesome.
That's so funny. I know. So it's available for pre-sale right now. And it's funny because it's like we're still not even done. So we have got through like the heavy lifting. Everything's like written. We've pretty much done all the edits. I'm trying to think. So we're in May right now. I believe this started in July. Like our first email was in July and we got rolling after that. Right now I am waiting on I need to actually take a picture of some burger patties, which I was not excited to get that email. I thought like the pictures were done long ago because I'm taking all the pictures and I'm not a photographer. I'm not a food stylist. So, give me some grace when you're looking through this book and you see the pictures. So I'm waiting right now on the design team is working on putting this all out and laid out and made look nice. So, I mean, any day I should be getting the PDF of like what this is going to look like. And then we'll be like, I think pretty much done. I mean, we did months of editing back and forth with a couple different editors. It's been a long process, but also like super quick. Like they
Mm,
gave me the opportunity to whatever you want the timeline to be, that's what it is. If you want 2 years, you want 6 months. I feel like normal cookbook authors, like it's like almost a 2-year process. But for
well,
me, I'm like, this needs to get out sooner than later. So by the time we sign the contract, I'm like, I'll have everything turned in 6 months. So I turned in all my stuff by 6 months and then like the editing went from there. So it will be I guess whatever, July, August, September. So a year and 3 months, like total process once it's out into the world, which is
Wow.
it's a little aggressive.
Wow. That's awesome though. Can't wait to get it. Already got the pre-sale coming, so I'm stoked.
Awesome. Thank you.
You got to be excited. Yeah, right. I mean, you got to be excited now.
I am. I feel like it's a big accomplishment, like something I can check off my bucket list. Like it's just going to be so cool to like be able to like hold that in my hand. And yeah, I'm excited to have the opportunity. I think I'm honored. I think it's amazing. And yeah, I'm just glad. And knock on wood, never say never, but I think I'm going to be a one-hit wonder on this. Like I don't
Okay.
know how
Okay.
these girls like crank out like 8 cookbooks. Like it is a lot of work. It's a
Roger
lot.
that. Noted. Well, we're gonna
One
have
might
to
be good.
discuss that. Noted. We're gonna have to discuss that in person in a few weeks for sure. Uh, Looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that. And then,
Yeah, we have a couple of fun things coming up.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna be a good summer.
Yeah, so I'll see you at KetoCon and
Yep.
then in Wyoming, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm stoked. That's gonna be awesome. Awesome. Just thinking about being up there. I've never been to Wyoming, and I'm sure the range is gonna be wild. And just it's freaking Wyoming. Like it's gonna be beautiful up there in August. Like God, can't wait. Can't wait. Well,
Yeah, I've
it's
never been there either. We're actually making a whole family road trip out of it.
nice. Nice.
Yeah, what am I thinking? I mean, I have a 3 and a 6-year-old and we're going to drive from Southern California to Wyoming and then we're going to see Yellowstone too. So,
The Griswolds are coming through.
yeah, and I'm bringing my mom and my stepdad so we can have
The
some like
Griswolds are definitely coming through.
yeah, extra hands. Yeah, it's going to be quite the experience. I mean, experience. There's going to be core memories, like for sure, for everybody.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah, that's
excited.
awesome.
I saw Chafee posted about it today, so it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
cool to
yeah.
like, okay, it's out in the world because I haven't said
Yeah,
anything yet. So
yeah, we can't take it back now. I know when I saw
yeah,
his post come out, I was like, all right, I guess we got to whip that together, and maybe we'll do that. We'll do that at KetoCon. Maybe we'll do something joint at KetoCon or a big party post or something like that together with
yes,
everybody. That'll be cool. But God, it's awesome to talk to you finally, Courtney, see you hear about everything again. Congrats on the book. Thank you for your vulnerability, your honesty, and opening up to us. I mean, so many people can relate, me especially, to what you're talking about, the struggles, but also the feelings and the good times, no doubt about it. And it sounds like you get a lot more coming towards you. So thank you again for being here. And for everybody else, Courtney Luna, you're going to drop all of her channels and social handles in the show notes, as well as a link to her book that you can get, the Carnivore in the Kitchen, coming out this October, available on Amazon, and where to find her on Instagram as well as YouTube, and the rest of the channels will be in the show notes for you guys. But thanks again, Courtney. And for everyone else, I'm Jake Thomas for another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. We'll see you again.